On today's show, we have Dawn Montgomery Green joining us, talking about her experience at the national championship. Also, too, we touch on Johnny Manziel and what is going on with his mental health. It is Football Friday. Welcome back to the Fan Show. It is an awesome looking Friday here in Metro Atlanta. The sun is finally out, and it just looks awesome, even though there is rain in the forecast toward the end of the day. But we are recording here on a Friday. I'm Alex Berger, and we're doing something new here on the Fan Show. Yes, football season is over, and it's been done with completely for a couple weeks now. I get that. I understand that. For me, it sucks. But what we're going to do here on the Fan Show is continue on with regular content about basketball. We're going to get into some baseball. We're even going to talk some Masters. We're talking some Masters here, but we are a podcast that is in Metro Atlanta, and we focus a lot on a lot of local things. And since we are a podcast here in the Metro area, and since we do have a local focus, but we do bring a little bit of a national perspective. And we're just trying to grow our audience. But since the Southeast is the Southeast, and there's a lot of great sports that go on every day down here, but football is the sport, particular college football. But I think a lot of people can talk NFL all year round. So we are going to dedicate Fridays to football, and we're going to call it what we'd like to call it our Football Fridays. We're going to do this content until my superiors say that I can't. So welcome for the first time to Football Friday. And I guess the way that we could start this thing off is because we're going to have Dawn on the show later in the show, and she's going to talk about her experiences because she went to one of both the biggest events in football, which I'm surprised that she pulled off both of these. I thought it was either going to be one or the other, but she pulled off both. So she has a bigger football pedigree than any of us. She went to the national championship, the BCS national, not the BCS, excuse me, now it's the playoff national championship. Man, it's one of those things that it's like you're used to saying one thing, then they totally change it. I'm just a guy that's not used to change, but it's the playoff national championship, and she went to the Super Bowl. So those are like that. That's like going to the World Series, the NBA Finals, and the Super Bowl. So she hit the biggest events in football, and I don't want to say I'm jealous, but I'm a little bit envious. Just a tad. Hopefully I can get on that level like she is on, but she went to both. Wow. But I want to start this segment off with what a good friend of the show. He's never been on the show. I would like him to be on the show. So if anyone's out there that has UGA connections, Georgia connections to the University of Georgia, give me a shout out on Twitter, Alexander71004. Alexander71004. So if you have UGA shout outs, you're a friend of the show and know this guy, definitely let me know. But Jake Fromm, who was in our first podcast, the guy we mentioned in our first podcast, the starting quarterback for the University of Georgia. And as you are aware, and especially as me being a single man, Valentine's Day this past week was on a Wednesday. So I'm not going to talk about Valentine's Day, but something that Jake Fromm put up there on Valentine's Day was very, very interesting, and I thought this was a little bit out of his character, but it's funny when right now when people are putting posts on social media about their sweetheart or the girlfriend. Aaron Murray put something out about his girlfriend, but Jake Fromm did the exact opposite thing. He put a picture out there of him after the Rose Bowl with a rose in his mouth. I guess that seems to be the tradition of the Rose Bowl. When you win the Rose Bowl, that you put a rose in your mouth, and he's there holding a paper, smiling, grinning because they just won the Rose Bowl, obviously. But the caption wrote on his Instagram account, "Roses are red, nothing good is blue. I can't wait to win the Natty. How about you?" Now, finally, this is someone that I feel like a lot of UGA people have been waiting for. That Tim Tebow mentality of never quitting, never giving up, always focused on winning a championship. I think Aaron Murray wanted to win a championship when he was at the University of Georgia, but they just never had the team. Now we have the team behind a guy that has that determination, that drivenness, that Georgia fans have been wanting to see for a long time. And finally, we got that guy on campus, and he just tweeted out, even though even though a lot of people are in the Justin Fields camp and thinking that Justin could get playing time, could challenge Fromm for his job, this seems like a guy who's secure in his job to say, hey, yeah, it's Valentine's Day. Here's a picture of the Rose Bowl, and here's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking about winning the national championship like 11 months from now in San Francisco. That's what's on my mind. It's not about roses. It's not about trying to impress my girlfriend. It's about winning the national championship. And a lot of teams that have won championships going in, especially football teams, they made that determination going into the new year. The 85 Bears, after they lost to the San Francisco 49ers back in 84, said, hey, we're winning the national championship. And it's pretty obvious if you see it on the 30 for 30 on ESPN. I'm also going to bring up another 30 for 30 on ESPN was the U Part 2. Now, in the U Part 2, towards the middle of the documentary, they talk about that 2001 team trying to shoot for a national championship. And their goal was, and they had it wasn't even a goal. It was a expectation. It was, we are going to win a national championship, and they did it. So to bring this all kind of forward, as a Georgia fan, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Georgia fans are fired up about this, is that we finally have a determined winner at quarterback, and he's proven that. And I think it's interesting that it seemed like Jake Fromm just kind of took this past season as, hey, I'm the starter. It's kind of unexpected. I'm going to do my best to put my team in a chance to win. And obviously he did that. And obviously props to the coaching staff. They didn't throw him out there and say, hey, just hey, go win it. But they didn't expect him. They didn't expect him to put the game in his hands, so to speak, but they brought him on slowly, and Jake Fromm got the confidence through those starts, through playing, that, hey, I can do this, I can lead my team to victories, and I led my team to the national championship. So so he knows that he has a team coming back that can get back there. And if you saw his post-game interview after the national championship, like he said, like, I want to say it was probably 5 or 6 times, maybe even more than that. Hey, we're gonna get back here. We're gonna get back here. That was the answer to their questions at the end of his answer. Is we're gonna get back here. We're gonna get back here. And this Instagram post that he posts on Instagram just proves that the Dogs want to get to San Francisco to finally finish and win a national championship. And just as a Georgia fan, I'm just you go Jake Fromm. That we've been waiting for a quarterback like this that has the determination and has the moxie to put a bold statement out there to want to win a national championship. And I've never seen that from a Georgia player. It's always been, oh, if we win 10 games or if we beat these people, then, hey, we'll be in contention, and then we're going to turn it on, and then we're going to show the nation what Georgia football is. It's no, we have a laser focus that 2018 is going to be the year where the Dogs hoist up that silver and goldish trophy in San Francisco. So I like that they're putting at the beginning of the year that Jake Fromm is taking the lead on this, as he should, as the quarterback, as the leader of the team, and the voice, and I want to say the poster child of the Georgia Bulldogs, to say we're going to win a national championship and my job is not in jeopardy. And it kind of gives you chills, and I think it's funny. He mentions that blue, and I don't think that's trying to point fingers at any particular team, but you think about the teams they play that are blue. It's Florida, it's Auburn, and it's Kentucky. So I don't think he's making jabs to them, but I think he's just trying to rhyme and trying to put together a cute saying. But you go, Jake Fromm. I appreciate that moxie. Also, too, David Berger, who I have on, who does a great job for us when it comes to covering college football. He just sent me a text before I came on of the picture of the SEC championship rings for the Georgia Bulldogs, and they look really, really cool. I'm going to pull it up because my phone just kind of went out there, but just to describe what they look like, and it's your typical kind of football ring you got going there. It has a red G. I like that. I always like the red G. A little bit of a fan of it. Sometimes I think it looks kind of cheesy. Sometimes I think it looks kind of cool. But in this case, it looks pretty cool, especially on a ring. And yeah, like I said, it's that typical kind of football ring, that big thing that you could probably put on 2 fingers, but has that kind of square circle, kind of like square mount to it, and it says 2017 SEC Championships on the side. Outside of that red G has a lot of diamonds on one side. It has the score, and it says it has the SEC logo, and then on another side it says Smart HC. I'm pretty sure that stands for head coach, and it has the new Georgia Mack truck Bulldog logo on one side. So be sure to Google it. If I can put it in a show description, I will. I know this is kind of the thing about podcast, is that it's just me talking, so I have to describe things, and you don't see me, I don't see you, and it's just off of audio. So I'm going to try to put that in the show description if I can, but yeah, that starts off our show with Football Fridays. just want to welcome back to the Fan Show. It's been a while. I think the last time we had her on was back. It was still 2007. So
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! Yes, we have a former model and Miss Hospitality, and as you could probably recognize by that voice, Dawn Montgomery Green is joining us, and she's not bringing her top five today, but we are going to talk about, like I said at the beginning of the show, she went to the biggest events in football, the Super Bowl and the National Championship. So we're going to talk to her about those two events. Dawn, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Alex. Thank you so much. It's been a while, but I've been so proud to listen to the episodes and hear who all you've had on the show, and very thankful for everyone that has supported the show up until this point. We're working on some things behind the scenes with Mr. Alex, and I'm excited to see what we can create over the next couple of months with the show.
Well, welcome to Football Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, since it is Football Friday, and that's kind of what I'm naming Fridays on the show, how was going to both events? Because probably a lot of people kind of dream of doing both in a lifetime, but you did both in 1 year. So
right.
How was that?
Well, the biggest thing for me is that I love the national championship game. If there is one sporting event, I feel like every fan should always make sure that they go to a national championship game and that they go to a Super Bowl. And I'm probably going to get some flack on this, but I feel as if the national championship game is always bigger, believe it or not, just because of the fanfare, and just how fans are about it. And depending on where you are, like the type of experiences you're going to get while you're there. For reference, with the national championship being here in Atlanta, I was very fortunate to work with the college football playoff committee, and I was working with their social media team, which was a great accomplishment for our company favorite fan, because it shows that just from across the board, people recognize me because they recognize our company. And so that gave us more visibility, gave us way more credibility to be working on that level. And some of my peers that I was working with on this team, social media team, like I had some peers from the Peach Bowl. So I'm trying to work on that relationship with the Peach Bowl. And I remember me and you talking about, that and look at how that worked out. And then there was a young man there. I'll never forget him because he was amazing, and he's a great photographer, and he was an intern with the Chargers. But his name is Sam, so shouts out to him because he kind of learned. It's a little funny story. He learned more about a black woman's hair. So shouts out to Sam and our just everybody on that staff. I learned a lot from working with them and being in that space. And I wasn't your typical you could call us interns in a sense, but we're like volunteers, but I wasn't your typical person that they would probably look for to be on that particular team and work in that capacity. But it was amazing to see behind the scenes, how the college football playoff pulls off, logistically, all of these different people that contribute to everything. And so for me, it was more so with the national championship, I was able to see, how they're scheduling coverage when the teams arrive, how they're scheduling coverage for media day, and then how they're scheduling coverage for all of these other things for the conferences and things like that were going on around it. And it was kind of exciting, with the national championship. And I'm talking about the national championship first just because we both know, like, that happened before the Super Bowl.
Right,
But like, we were, like, spazzing out because the weather wasn't, it was cold here in Atlanta. Like, that was our Minneapolis weather.
It was typical January weather.
Right.
Here in Atlanta.
And so we were spazzing out because we were literally, there were times where when we showed up, we would have to be outside catching something, like teams going from one location to another or something like that. But we were physically, like, outside doing these things. And And then when it came down to like media day, we literally had to sit around and try to figure out, okay, who's going outside of the stadium to catch the halftime show? You know, like, like that was one of those things. And then I looked at the list and I was like, my name isn't there. I'm not volunteering for that. No. but the funny thing about that was is that they literally came back, you know, the group, like the 2 or 3 people that went out to go do that, they came back and they were like, they really couldn't do a whole lot because that show was kind of pretty much owned by ESPN, and so they didn't want certain things covered. So it was like just learning, even with the college football playoff committee, there's certain things they can't do, and they're the playoff committee. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
it proved a lot of things for me on the backside of this. Is that, yeah, I know people, and we've talked about this numerous of times on the show, Alex, is that people see that the word fan is in the business name, but we are all journalists. You know, like you all have an experience and you've had access to do game day coverage as a journalist, and you all had that experience. And one of the biggest things that I learned was just that what we've been doing over the past 4 to 5 years, because this year will be our 5th year in business, to me, it spoke to like how people run to a Bleacher Report, how people run to a Black Sports Online or Barstool Sports. I hate to bring them up, but they're one of the top places that people want to work and get their experience in the sports industry for. But it's like this is an independently ran company that has a bunch of people who would not be given a chance to do other things at other sports media companies. And to me, like it empowered me a whole lot just because I was representing our company. There were a lot of people that I ran across that knew about me and the company. And then it was like in their media lounge where it was like a hospitality room, like in between stuff that you could go to, or it was like the hangout spot once everybody got done with their days in the hotel. Like there were people who eventually went and looked at the website, and then they were sitting down, and I literally was like questioned at a round table full of journalists who had been in the sports industry for over 15 years, asking me how I came up with the idea for the company. So to me, the experience with the national championship more so wasn't really about the game, you know? It was literally everything behind the scenes that I learned.
It was networking.
Yeah. So, beyond, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm trying to sign up for every national championship for the rest of my life if I can, you know? I enjoyed it. Like 4 or 5 days where I'm working more than like 12 hours doing something that I completely love and I'm dedicated to it. Oh yeah, sign me up. We're like, I'm ready. But if we're talking about the game itself was an experience, and I feel as if, I know. Okay,
first
go ahead.
I just want to ask you, before we get into the game, just because I know that you were a part of all this, it seemed like, because you and me were down there, and it seemed like Friday through Sunday, everything was going really smoothly, just with fanfare and media day that they had open to the public. But I heard on that Monday, because it was just miserable weather and the president was coming into town, and I don't want to throw shade at the president, but at the same time, I know that there were a lot of logistical things that were going on that just made it a terrible experience. And it's kind of like you put on this great event until like the day that it matters the most. So if you just kind of talk to me about that, like how was that experience for you?
That part, it was nerve-wracking because it was literally that for us, Alex. You called it right on the bat. Like we everything ran smooth, everything ran on time. You know, we had no issues. Media Day was a huge success. And that was just amazing just to see that whole thing pulled off the way that it was done. And here comes game day, and we're all standing around. Now, mind you, okay, the game started at what time? Like about 7 something or something like that, right?
8 o'clock.
Yeah, okay. So, okay, we had to show up at the stadium between 10 and 1 o'clock, no later than 1 o'clock.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
Right. Like we were there like I got to the stadium right about at 9:30 and was able to get in. So just let's bear with me here. If we're talking about how much time I spent working and doing what I need to do on the actual national championship game day, it was more like, let's just say from 10 until about 2 o'clock the next day. 10 a.m. to 2 o'clock the next day. So 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. And I did that just because from a logistics standpoint, I already knew traffic was going to be horrible. Traffic is always horrible in Atlanta. Like, it's just, we don't care who's in town.
Right.
It's going to be horrible. So for me, I had already planned to pretty much basically sleep in the stadium. You know what I'm saying? And not go anywhere. And that's what I did. That was the case. And then by the time most of our committee got there or whatever, we got our assignments. We knew what time the teams were coming in to do, their practices and like walkthroughs and things of that nature and how they were coming in. And then there was like a little bit of a delay when they got to the stadium because of the president as well, which they didn't factor that in. Like they factored in everything else around like, the president possibly coming in and all of these things.
Right.
But the crazy part about it was when he did come in, like that delayed the teams getting there for walkthrough on time and some other things and stuff like that. But the good thing about watching the committee playoffs, like their group of people that were working around, they had people everywhere. Like, and it was insane to me because I was just like, logistically, how do you strategically place people where they need to be and literally be able to get on it right then and there. But the biggest thing for me was that I had people that I knew were coming to the game as fans and everything, and I made sure that I gave them the heads up, like, I don't know where you are in Atlanta, and if you're coming to this game, if you even try to leave between 4 and 6 o'clock, you're going to have problems. Like, I'm just giving you a heads up now. Like, I don't want to hear it. And so for me, that was the thing. But then too, let's go back a little bit before the actual national championship game, Peach Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
There was an issue with fans trying to get into the Peach Bowl.
Really?
Yeah. Like, there were they had fans, and that was like a cold, rainy day.
That was a miserable day too.
Like, it was horrible. And so for me, I think it doesn't reflect more so like on the playoff committee as well as like anybody else that was dealing with the national championship game. I think that was more of a stadium issue. And I'm saying that just because if it happened, now it'd be different if I did the Peach Bowl and there were no issues and then, I come to the national championship and then that's that. But again, look at it. You held the door before you start letting people in. Same thing happened with the Celebration Bowl. There were difficulties getting started and getting people in on time and things like that for that game. And that game was like a noon game, as well. So it's just like, to me, I feel like from the Celebration Bowl to Peach Bowl, you should have been ready to really logistically handle like the president coming in and the security detail, the sweeping of the stadium and things of that nature, considering that the committee, the playoff committee people, as well as anybody else that was media or anybody else that was affiliated with this game, were told to be at the stadium before a certain time. You get what I'm saying? So as for me, I feel like those issues then fell upon Mercedes-Benz Stadium, not just, everyone else for the game,
Well, I heard that to get into the game that you needed a wireless ticket, and I get why you would need that because that's probably the new wave of ticket entry into stadiums, but it seemed like it wasn't widely communicated. Why was that?
I think that goes back to even when you're telling a fan that they need clear bags, you need to tell them they need to have a wireless ticket, and because you also have to remember, like, look at the two teams who played, man, and then look at their fan base, okay? I feel as if you have a UCF team, right? Now, this is just me and me knowing fan bases. You have a UCF team, right? Most of their fans are millennials and or students You know what I'm saying? Like that are going to travel to the games. Like this, I'm just being realistic, and this is what I personally know. Like, so they're going to have wireless tickets, but a 30-year like
I get
like
what you're saying.
fan like from Alabama and or Georgia who hasn't been to a national championship, blah blah blah. And they're making sure that they're going to be in the building, they're going to come out with their paper ticket or whatever was sent to them per se. So, and then two, that's a communication that not only does it fall upon the stadium to say, hey, we need you to have wireless tickets, the stadium should have connected with anybody that sold tickets, whether it was a program, whether it was like the athletic programs for both schools, or whether it was Ticketmaster or whomever, you know, what's the other one, StubHub, all of these people, like, you need to go back and tell these people, just use your email when you get ready to go into the stadium. Do not print this, you know. And then that would have helped them a whole lot, I feel as if. And yeah, that was a major issue because there were tons of fans that came with their paper tickets.
Yeah, and I totally get that with Georgia and Alabama because you do have a convention of that fan base that is the old guard to put it nicely. But yeah, what did you think of just the game itself?
The game, Georgia should have won. I go back and forth over that all the time. I'm not going to get into the stats of that, but I feel like it was okay for them to lose, and here's why. I feel like it was okay for them to lose because of what they accomplished in their season, per se. Now, yes, what they accomplished in their season, you would want to have a national championship to be like, look at what we really did. But I feel like that was going to be the driving force for Georgia to now be more dominant over the next 3 to 4 years. And I've told you this just because of what they've been able to accomplish this past season. And for me, I feel like a loss is what's going to motivate guys to want to get back to that point and play again and get it. So I was okay after I kind of processed it as that. And then recently after I saw that they were number one on National Signing Day, which was uber dope to me. But as far as I'm concerned, the game in itself, I loved the flow of it. I feel like it was a very exciting, you know, national championship game. And I'm not saying that any other game that I've ever been to hasn't really been, you know, that exciting. But that was like, if you want two SEC teams to meet each other in a national championship game, like that was it. Like, from the fan experience to, you know, the bands to the people that showed up to support both teams, like the sideline experience was crazy. Like, you should have seen, like, I'm sure they probably highlighted during the game. And to this day, I still have not watched the game, like, recorded. You know, I recorded it, but I haven't gone back to really watch it. But I'm pretty sure, I'm hoping that the cameras panned in on everybody that was on those sidelines on both sides. And it was just great to kind of, like, really understand that people need to realize that sports crosses over, it crosses over so many different boundaries. Like, you know, like it's all up in different spaces. Like you can't just stick to sports when there's a rap group on the sideline that's rooting for your team, you know, or there's a politician, you know, showing up to the game. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's like, because there were a couple of senators from both states. Well, I think it was one or two. I think it might have been two.
I could see that.
Two from Georgia and then like one from Alabama. And then there were like representatives like all over the place. Like it was, the people I was shaking hands with and meeting was so impressive. And I didn't fangirl not one moment, I do believe. I wasn't impressed. I wasn't thoroughly impressed.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, where you're talking about Georgia should win, and that, I remember you saying in other podcasts that it's like you only have one job, and I'm just like,
you only have one job.
I didn't say anything at the time, but I'm just like, Dawn, from where we've been to, from where we are, I'm just trying to enjoy this. I think though that Georgia's peaking a little bit too early. Knowing how close I am to that program and knowing what goes on day to day there. But But yeah, I know that you're from Mississippi, and you live here, so you've pretty much lived in the Southeast your whole life. So I have to ask you, seeing that much snow in Minnesota, was that just a shocker for you?
I'm still traumatized from that. There's no reason why no reason why that much snow should still be around in February. Like that was the first thing. And the funny thing about it is my sister who lives there, she's from Mississippi too, of course, but she was like, well, you can get used to it after a while. I said, when? Like, when and why would you want to get used to this? This makes no sense to me. But yeah, that was the very first thing that shocked me. Like that gust of wind trying to get into my Lyft car that I called to the airport. I almost died when the wind hit me and it was that cold. I was like, no, I don't know about that. And then so, she picked me up from the airport. Listen at me talking about Lyft. She picked me up from the airport. And then she drove me around the stadium, which was pretty fun. And then dealing with some, fan, like we went by one fan experience thing. And I was just like, there's just like no way I'm standing outside that long. Like I don't think they thought that part through. Like, I get that fans are going to show up because it's the Super Bowl, but can you move some of this stuff inside somewhere? Find a museum, find a community center, go to Starbucks, go to Panera Bread, somewhere you can move this stuff in, and not have fans outside.
They didn't have a big, like, convention center?
There was one space where, okay, so for instance, most of the major fan-related stuff happened at Mall of America, which was fine. Not a problem. Not far.
I can see that.
Yeah. But then there were like other things around the stadium that were happening. And I'm starting to get to a point where one of the things that I love about college football and like bowl games and like the national championship is that they tend to bring fans in the stadium before the game happens. You get what I'm saying? In some form or fashion. Like, logistically here in Atlanta, whatever bowl game comes to Atlanta or whatever major game comes to Atlanta and they're playing in our main stadium, the fan experience is going to be over there in the Georgia World Congress Center. You know, and it's in walking distance. It's fine. It's not a problem.
It's huge if you haven't been in there.
Yes, it is. You can get lost no matter. Every time I go in there, I get lost. Every single time. I mean, I've been living here for 11 years. Every single time I go in there, I get lost. I hate going over there. and so, but to me, it was just like, okay, Minnesota, what do you have? But then too, they were trying to also embrace. I understood on another side of this, they were also trying to embrace. Here's like your Winter Olympic type feel Super Bowl. Does that make sense? Where you're in this environment and we want you to embrace it. And I'm like, I don't want to be out here in this snow. Like, what is this? Where's Mall of America? Take me there. So, when she took me to Mall of America, let me tell you something. I know many of y'all that follow me on social media know I live with a mental illness. I do. But when I say my anxiety level went through the roof before I even walked in because of how huge it looks from the outside, but when I got inside, there's an amusement park inside of Mall of America. I never knew that. I always knew that Mall of America was huge, but there's like an amusement park in there, like rides, like real, like Six Flags and Lenox type thing. I was about to lose it. I was like, no, I can't stay. I said, take me straight to where I need to go. And let's go. And so, like, they had, like, the media center that was there. There were some other little spots that fans could go to. And I thought that was amazing. Like, that was my highlight. And that's where I went, when I had time to wanted to go do something. All you needed to do was just be in Mall of America. Like, you were going to run into people. You were going to see people. And, like, things were happening there. And so I made sure, like, okay, that was my go-to place. And that's, for me, as a fan, that's where the fan kicked in me. Because when I go to games or stadiums, I know the things that I want to do around the stadiums or around the game, right? And then there are also fan experience things related that I try to make sure that it's logistically all within the area of the stadium or where I happen to stay while I'm in this, city or whatever. But for me, Mall of America was a good, like, point of reference, period. Like, you got the stadium here, and then you don't have to go far to get to Mall of America. Cool. Not a problem. That's only where I'm going until I leave. I didn't want to do nothing else. And so, to me, I thought that was interesting. If we're going to talk about the day of the game, that was a bit much because I really saw fans out there, getting ready to go in and all of that. I did not go to the game. I went to a watch party, and then I went by a separate event around the game because, quite honestly, I felt as if the Patriots were going to win. Okay, I hate to admit that ever in life, but I just didn't want to waste my time being in there.
That's a good guess. That's a good guess.
I didn't want to be in there, and they actually were going to win again. And now I'm kicking myself every day that I think about it that I should have, but whatever. Okay. And as far as I'm concerned, there was a protest before the game, and it was a mild protest until it turned into it was Black Lives Matter group were protesting, and they were like on one street, and I got all of this on our IG stories. If anyone's following us on Instagram, it's @fansfavoritefan. But it caught me off guard just because I saw a group of people marching in one area. Now, okay, let me put this into context, okay? It wasn't, and I will say this, they were not all black people. So that wasn't like a dead giveaway, okay? Because if they were they were all black people walking this one road, then okay, there's a protest going on. Like I get that. But it was a very, very diverse crowd, and then they were all walking in one area, and then there was another crowd coming from another street to meet up with them. And I was like, okay, it's -degree temperatures out here, and there are a group of people walking in two separate directions, but they're about to meet. I'm getting out the car to go catch that. And I'm literally like recording while I'm jumping out of the car. And the thing about it was just how they were really peaceful. Like, they were just like, they have the right to march. But then later on, after I kind of basically followed them all the way over to where there was a gate entrance to getting into the stadium, there was this, I think it was called the Metro Trail, like the line for the train. They blocked it, I do believe, or something, or they were standing there for a certain amount of time to the point where the police then started arresting people. Now I wasn't there for that. I had literally just left 2 minutes before that happened. And the only reason why I know that happened.
That's a good thing.
Right. And the only reason why I know that happened was because while I was getting in the car, it wasn't my mom. It was my one of my followers who's a really good friend of mine. She has my number. She saw on Twitter that people were being arrested, but she also remembered seeing on my IG stories as well as Fans Favorite Fans IG stories that I was showing video from the march. So she was like, "Are you in the march? Are you a part of the march? Are you getting arrested? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, "Girl, I'm not in this. Like, I support them, but I'm not in this march. What do you mean am I getting arrested? Like, nobody's getting arrested. They're fine." And then she screenshot, like a tweet that said that protesters were getting arrested and things like that. And I was like, oh my God, I literally just got in the car like a block away from where this happened. And she was like, thank God you got in the car. And I was like, yes. I said, because they were literally, it wasn't even like, there were people who were there that like me that were recording on the side or grabbing things. And come to find out, there were like at least 3 people like that they ended up arresting, and they weren't even a part of the protest. You get what I'm saying? So even if I had been there, they wouldn't have even probably tried to listen to me and say that I wasn't a part of the protest. They probably would have arrested me anyway. So I dodged that, like literally. So that was something, because that was kind of like, oh my God, I could be in jail right now just for being a reporter, Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to ask you, that's cool that you were at both of those things, but something came out recently on Good Morning America with Johnny Manziel, talking about that he has been diagnosed with bipolar for over a year, and he's had in the past he's had trouble with alcohol and substance abuse. So I know that you're a big proponent of mental health, and I just want to know, what did you think about the story that came out recently about Johnny Manziel?
I was extremely happy that, and for many people that will hear me say that I'm happy, listen to what I'm going to say following that, okay? Because I'm not happy that he was diagnosed with a mental illness.
Right.
I'm happy that he came forward about it and shared it. Because of a few reasons here. Just to kind of give you guys, those that may not know me and first time listening to the show and or have been following the show, and this is your first time hearing from me, of course he's mentioned this. I am the founder of Fans Favorite Fan. But one of the biggest things that I've used through this platform is I've shared my mental health advocacy with student athletes. And I live with bipolar disorder. So as I've been in the sports industry, I have literally personally reached out to athletes when I've seen certain reports about them put out. And I've analyzed those things. I've studied student athletes' behaviors, especially some that I would deem, quote unquote, like some of my favorites or whatever, or they're like the good guys. But as far as I'm concerned, I remember, and I said this on my timeline, I waited a while to see the response from him doing that. I watched fans say that they were like, oh, that's an excuse, oh, this, blah, blah, blah. Then fans brought up Ricky Williams. They were like, well, I wish people were more understanding about Ricky Williams as they are Johnny Manziel. You know, then there were comments where it was like, that doesn't excuse what he did. Then there were comments of, like, in general, no, like, I need more people to understand what mental illness is. And that it's not, mental illnesses, no matter, yes, we know what it is, we can diagnose you with that, but my bipolar disorder is not going to look like Johnny Manziel's bipolar disorder. And I think that it's completely unfair that most people will like, well, why is he sharing it out? I mean, he probably knew ahead of time. Like, and I think he talked about that. Like, he knew, but you also have to deal with the fact that you were this top football player. Like, you at the top, like Heisman. You get what I'm saying? Like, Heisman Trophy winner, all these things, and now all of a sudden you got to come out here and talk about something that most people will shame normal people for. Like, I still get messages from Black people on social media whenever I share that I have a mental illness, and they're like, oh, girl, don't claim that. You know, you can pray about that. You don't have to say that you are this because you aren't and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, no, I am. And why can't I share my story when I know that I'm in an industry where there are young men who play sports and they're depressed, okay? They're depressed for many reasons, whether it's childhood trauma, their backgrounds back home, or whether it's the fact that they're away from home and they can't get home because they can't afford it, or it's because they're on campus and they can't even afford simple things that they need as far as like food, groceries, those things. These guys are not able to really say that they need help from a mental health aspect. They don't feel comfortable in saying those things because of the stigma that goes behind someone saying that they feel like that it may be something wrong with them. And then come to find out they're depressed. They don't want to be labeled that. And I've talked to I talk to student athletes every day about issues. I've had some who have DM'd me because I'll get in a rant on Twitter about mental health issues, and they're like, hey, I don't have anyone to talk to on campus. Can I just message you what I'm thinking right now? And then if you want to respond, you can. And I'll literally sit there in my DMs because, of course, I'm not going to give my personal information. I don't know this kid, and I don't expect this kid to give me his information, but that's their way of reaching out to somebody that they can connect with and engage with because I'm sharing my personal experience with my mental illness. So for Johnny Manziel to do what he did, I was happy that he did that now, because the thing is, this is a lifelong disease because, and I call it a disease because it's a disorder, but it's also a disease because it can take over your body, and many people don't realize that.
How can it take over your body?
Okay, from with it taking over your body from a mental standpoint. I think I don't know if you've experienced this with me, but I know everybody else on the team has. There are days when I can't get out of bed, and I'll cancel my days.
Because you're just depressed, or just...
It's either I'm depressed or I just mentally can't function. There's a lot going on, and, my body will shut down. And to me, that's the chemical imbalance that I'm dealing with my bipolar disorder that can change from day to day depending on what type of environment I'm in. And I mean, it can happen while I'm at home. It can happen while I'm traveling and out and about and all of these things. But that's why I refer to it as, a disease because, with diseases, it takes over your body and it does whatever or whatever. And you've got to create this defense. So for me, I've got to have ways to get out of that. I have to figure out how to shift my mood or deal with these things or find out how I got to that point. And so for him, now that he knows, now he's got to know what his triggers are. Are his triggers the young women he used to date where he had domestic violence issues and all of these things and blah, blah, blah? Is his triggers his parents? Especially I think it was his father that really wasn't fully supportive of him over some decisions he made through college or whatever. And he publicly said that. Is his triggers, his childhood? Is his trigger his experience at Texas A&M, or that he didn't have that coach anymore behind him, really guiding him? Because look at what his relationship was to his head coach at that time. You know what I'm saying? And then imagine going to the NFL and it's business now. For real. It's really business now. I'm not coming over there to be your friend, homie. You got to come here and do your job. And he went to and then where did he go? Let's talk about that. Where was he drafted to?
The Browns.
That's depressing. I'm sorry, it's a lot of things that I was extremely just proud to see him do that because, you all know from previous podcasts where I brought this up, Rachel Bearball, she's one of my main mentors in this industry, and she has this hashtag changing the narrative, and I feel as if this falls under that, where a former student athlete, former professional athlete comes out and says, hey, I have this mental illness and I want to start sharing my story. I mean, Brandon Marshall, he has consistently shared his story about his mental illness. He has a foundation and all of that, but and right now, I would love to see him reach out to him to kind of strengthen their platforms together and go back to athletic programs. That's the biggest thing for me when it comes down to what Johnny Manziel did, is that I had more high school athletes start reaching out to me when he made that announcement, just to ask me if I could help them find somewhere where they can go to follow up. And that was, to me, it's not just something that somebody's going to deal with in college. We got to go a little bit further back. I need to start dealing with some youth league football teams now and finding out where these kids come from and how they're being raised or what's going on in their world. Because, again, for me and you, what happened when we were 5 and 6, our environment, look at my son Christopher. My son Christopher is 6 years old. Christopher knows everything about YouTube, he showed me how to edit a video.
Wow.
And he learned it from YouTube. I didn't have that when I was 6.
Right.
I can show you how to sharpen your Crayola crayon when I was 6 without a pencil sharpener, because I used to have to use a butter knife to sharpen my crayons because we couldn't. My mom couldn't afford maybe like some pencil sharpeners or something like that. It was like you either get the pencil or you get the pencil sharpener. Which one you want? Like, and that's just a testament to how things evolve from generation to generation. And I just feel as if, like, in this time that it means a lot for more of our student athletes to be more comfortable in speaking about the issues that they deal with. And I know that, this is very heavy set on the young men, but there are young women who are dealing with these issues as well that feel as if they can't come forward because maybe coach won't play them because they seem as if they're weak,
Right.
And I say that just because not too long ago, I think it was during last year where me and Christopher were invited by one of my good friends, Shamika Holtzclaw, who, by the way, is going to be inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. I'm excited about this. But Shamika invited us out she was giving a talk to the Georgia Tech student athletes from all athletic teams, and most of the questions came from young women. Just watching them and listening to their concerns as to why they feel as if they can't go. And it's like if a young woman, because we're very like, if a woman feels some type of way, we feel as if we can talk to our friends about it or whatever, and we can get it out. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But if you're a young man, you don't want to tell your friend, yo, dog, I was depressed yesterday. Your friend's going to look at you, why are you depressed, dog? You know what I'm saying? Like, like, why are you talking to me about this? And so, like, that would turn somebody off from really actually wanting to talk about their issues and going and receiving help. So what Johnny Manziel did, I feel as if, especially for him at his age as well, I feel like that there's going to be this shift, especially when we just lost the student athlete, I think he was a quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, at Washington State, to suicide. Nobody knew that he was dealing with whatever it was he was dealing with, and suicide was the only option for him. That should never be anyone's option. But guess what? I understand how he got to that place because I've tried to commit suicide before, and I'm still here.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of great stuff that you're telling us. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but
We are.
I'd love to have you back on the show and maybe just
cool.
kind of dedicate a whole show just talking about this thing that's going on with Johnny Manziel and just mental health podcast. But where is a place that we can get in contact with you? Like I said, we're not giving out numbers, but just on social media, if people want to get in touch with you about this conversation.
Yeah, cool. You guys can follow me at Breakup DMG. I'm that on Twitter. I'm that on Instagram, and Dawn M Green on Facebook. You can also go to our website, and you can always click our About page to find emails to reach out to everyone on the team and or myself. We are always looking for people to either submit, stories that they want to write about and with their fan experience or something about sports, or if you have some suggestions for us as we're growing. This is going to be a big year for the fans' favorite fan, and I'm pretty much determined to really start reaching out and finding out more feedback from all of our followers, especially those of you who are over here listening to our show on this podcast.
All right. Well, thank you, Dawn, for being on the show.
No problem. Thank you, Alex.
I just want to end the show with something that I found in the AJC today in their NFL section, which I thought was really interesting to say the least. If you watch football and you're really into it like I am, then you know about John Gruden and what he's done. I feel like he's been more famous in retirement than he has been as an NFL coach, even though he won a Super Bowl. But because of his spot on Monday Night Football, obviously, if you watch Monday Night Football, you're going to know John Gruden, and especially with his QB camp that he is doing. Well, he's the new head coach of the Raiders, and I was really surprised personally that he took that job. I thought that he was really happy at ESPN, but I guess He's still somewhat in his coaching prime, so he still has that itch. But and we saw this with Urban Meyer. I think is the most famous coach right now out there to take a year off and just do broadcasting and then come back into it. But Gruden, he took 9 years off, and he was living the life in Tampa, Florida. So when you had those opportunities, which I feel like once you get that broadcasting job, like it's kind of like, why would you go back to coaching? But because, I mean, you're living in Tampa, Florida, and you're getting paid a boatload of money, and it's like you don't have to worry about being an NFL head coach. You don't have to worry about contracts and personnel changes and all that mess that NFL coaches have to worry about. But I guess this is what he really wants to do, what he really wants to love, what he really loves, and I say, well, good luck to you. And I feel like too, he's in a great situation with the Raiders, having Derek Carr as his quarterback. So I expect big things from Gruden. I don't know how fast it's going to happen. Obviously, when you have a coaching change, there's always going to be growing pains that you're going through. But I feel like Gruden's in the right spot, and I'm just surprised he really turned down just a really comfortable life, so to speak. But now he's back doing what he loves. So good luck to John Gruden. Again, I just want to thank Dawn Montgomery Green for joining the show today, and just for her openness about what's going on just in her life. Really enjoyed hearing that. Really enjoyed how she's giving back to the sports community in general. And I just want to say thanks for listening. This is The Fan Show. We are on fansfavoritefan.com, so be sure to check out that website. Also, too, you can access the show through SoundCloud and YouTube. And we're in this new media world and this new media business, so the like button is a huge thing. So if you like what you heard, be sure to hit the like button. I saw some people on the SoundCloud page last night that hit the like button, so I appreciate the new viewers that are listening to the show, that they're hitting that like button. So if you could just do the same if you like what you heard today. Also, too, the best way to give instant feedback, or if you want to talk about the National Championship, Football Friday, anything football related, or just sports related in general, be sure to leave a comment in the comment section, because that's the way you can give instant feedback. That's the way you can get your opinion out there. And it's crazy that we're in this world where you can just have the instant communication. So be sure to leave a comment. And also, too, if you want to tweet at me, I'm at Alexander71004. That is my Twitter handle. So if you leave a cool enough tweet, if you tweet about something cool, I will read it on air, and that's a promise. So be sure to tweet at me if you have something cool to say. I just want to say thanks for listening, and have an amazing day.